I'm Sarah Sharp. I'm a deal attorney that specializes in people buying and selling accounting practices. And this is my weekly wind down, where I talk about a theme of the week while I open a bottle of wine at the end, of course, of my week. Now, this week is a holiday week, and I am about to go ride my mountain bike. So I did not want to drink actual wine or alcoholic wine, but this is alcohol-free wine. So the wine this week is, can you see it? It's called Gruvi, G-R-U-V-I, Dry Secco. I ordered at a restaurant for the first time not too long ago, and the people I was with didn't know that I was drinking a non-alcoholic Prosecco, and one of them even tasted it and didn't realize that it was not alcoholic, which is great. So the tasting notes, it's inspired by the effervescence of champagne. It is delicious carbonated wine crafted from wine grapes. Well, that doesn't really tell us much, does it? Floral and tart in notes. So let's see if that's true. It's a hot day, so. I mean, honestly, very similar to alcoholic champagne. So I don't know if you would get a headache the next morning if you drank a bunch of these or not. The theme this week that I've thought of over and over again is exclusivity. For some of you who don't know, accounting practice, it's a very seasonal M&A cycle. So in the tax season, essentially January, February, March, April, nothing's happening. May, people are staying at a wall. June, you get some listings. There's a lot of activity in the letters of intent or offers. July, some people have chosen letters of intent to go down the road with, and I've had a couple closings, but we'll get more and more towards the end of July and a lot more in August and September. Then things dial back a little bit. The September 15th, October 15th deadlines, you're straight into Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then you're back in the next tax season. So it's busy, busy, busy time for me and for my clients to be doing buying and selling of accounting practices. Exclusivity, hold on. This is genuinely really good. And you can order it on Amazon. You don't have to sign for it to get delivered, which is convenient. For a busy professional, you should try getting your non-alcoholic beverages delivered by Amazon. Exclusivity is often in letters of intent, which, just to really back up, if you're looking to buy an accounting practice, you're looking at listings usually on some of the aggregator sites like Accounting Practice Exchange or Biz Buy Sell. You might be enrolled in some of the kind of newsletter type of things that different brokers have to notify you about new listings of new accounting practices for sale. If that happens and you reach out for information on a listing, they're likely going to get you to sign an NDA. So look at my Deal Academy course on non-disclosure agreements, because I think that you wouldn't believe the things that I see in a non-disclosure agreement or the things that are missing. They're not all created equal. Certainly read it before you sign it, but you'll sign an NDA. You'll usually talk to the broker and get some questions answered. They might even have you talk to the seller to just kind of get a temperature read on whether you'd be a good fit. And then they're going to say, all right, give us your letter of intent. A lot of times that's the first time somebody reaches out to me because they say, oh, shoot, I need some kind of legal document drafted. I like that. Reach out to me at that point. It's fantastic. Equally likely, or only slightly less common, I have people who have already gone through that process of the letter of intent and then reach out to me, and that's a harder position to be in from a negotiating perspective. Then you're looking at your letter of intent. Lots of terms in a letter of intent. You know, check out my course on letters of intent on Deal Academy if you want. I won't go into all that. The one that really I have had the most mixed feelings about is the term for exclusivity, where you say, hey, I'm looking to buy your firm. If you're going to talk to me, I want you to only talk to me for the next 30, 60, 90 days. Pretty standard to do that across industries, but it's so different. The impact is so powerfully different in such a seasonal business, because if you lock someone up right now in July for 60 days, then the deal falls through. If they're going to be listing their company again, it's going to be in the fall when there's way less activity, far fewer buyers. The likelihood that they get it sold this year goes down substantially. So these are the most significant 30, 60, 90 days. So I'm not crazy about agreeing to very long exclusivity. On the seller's side, obviously. On the buyer side, it's like get as long as you can get. But if you're the seller, you want to restrict that as much as possible. And a lot of times this kind of obligation to be exclusive, it comes with a good faith deposit. So you'll see those together a lot in the writing. It'll say, like, I'm looking at one on my screen right now. It says exclusive negotiations and good faith deposit. And then there's a paragraph that says, once you execute this, buyer will provide $25,000 to escrow, the good faith deposit. And during the 30, 60, 90 day period following the date of the signature here too, and until closing, unless buyer indicates it's not willing to blah, 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 then you'll be exclusive. And that can be a really long agreement. It can be a couple sentences. I have not died on the hill of exclusivity in the past. People might watch this that I've had this conversation with. I haven't historically seen the value in the good faith deposit, especially because the standard is that if you call off the deal for any reason, you get that deposit back. It has felt like a silly kind of extra admin type step to take that might slow things down and kind of crunch them up. So I haven't been crazy about good faith deposits, but I also, I usually have advised buyers, like, you get it back either way. So what's the downside? This is great. Also, there's some brokers that will say, I've never done a single deal. I've never done a single deal that has exclusivity, and I never will. And they're probably being honest. Who knows? I have never told people to break a deal because the seller is unwilling to be exclusive. I have never told buyers don't give good faith deposit. I never told sellers demand good faith deposit, because I see all sides of the issue. It's at such a low purchase price usually where I'm working that we're talking about a sub $20,000 and a deal fee usually, and nobody's going to be able to afford to sue over that. The legal costs would way outpace the amount in question. If you can't enforce it, what's the point of fighting over it? And frankly, it's a deal term that I don't really usually want my clients to waste time on. I don't want them to waste negotiating capital on, because it's not a deal term for the ultimate deal. It's a short-term deal term. Anyways, that's historically been my really agnostic type of, it's good, it's bad, if you want it, we can do it type of thing. But more recently, I have started to think about it differently. One value that having a completely refundable good faith deposit brings that is so substantial, and that I had frankly overlooked a little bit, is that it encourages the buyer to admit when they are done with the deal. So if you have $25,000 tied up in a potential practice that you've thought about buying, you've lost enthusiasm for the practice, you're probably going to be motivated to tell the seller, I've decided to go a different direction. Can I have my money back? And unfortunately, because the window to sell is so narrow, I've had so many buyers lose enthusiasm for a deal. Maybe their own personal circumstances change. Maybe they didn't realize what they were getting into, and they're realizing it more and more and more. There's so many different things that can happen or maybe the time just passes. So it's suddenly running their own practice, and they're getting, distracted by like extension filing deadlines and stuff like that. It makes them come to terms with the fact that they're not going to proceed with the deal, and it makes them be honest about that and let the seller know, so that the seller then can break up with the exclusivity clause if it's drafted right, and can go back on the market sooner rather than later. I have changed my mind and now I'm in favor, I think, pretty sure in most cases, of at least a good faith deposit. Certainly where there's exclusivity, I want a good faith deposit. If I'm representing the seller, especially, I want that good faith deposit, because I want them to tell us if they've gone a different direction. It's not uncommon, and there's nothing wrong with a buyer pursuing multiple deals. There shouldn't be anything wrong with a seller pursuing a couple buyers until you sign the letter of intent and agree to exclusivity. So we just really want to make sure that everyone is focused on that one deal at that time and honest and motivated to let you know as soon as possible if that's not going to keep going. That's the big deal. I mean, at this point in my career, it's pretty exciting when I get to think about a new angle on one of the terms in a letter of intent. So cheers to exclusivity and good faith deposits. This has been a weekly wind down. If you found this valuable at all, bless you. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I really appreciate it.